the most momentous occasions, I am here to make a leader class blackout, which is so far has not been released on the retail market from Hasbro on the movie line of Transformers. But here I have come to solve the problem. Now, here is one of the many things that you will need. Some cheap latex gloves. I suggest you get the better kind. A stick of good epoxy, perhaps 2 or more. A good variety of screwdrivers, of course, varying from large to small. And of course, a gyro blade blackout. And above all, a good exoskeletal form. Deep Desert Brawl. I've attempted this before, but my previous design included an Optimus Prime exoskeletal design. But on further pondering, after some time, I've decided that Brawl is a better exoskeletal, and here is why. Optimus Prime is sleek, with very shrimpy features, and above all, tall. Brawl, on the other hand, is bulkier, and the toy is made to support a lot more weapons. Very similar to Blackout. So, through the magic of empirically reduced data, Brawl is the exoskeletal form for me. So that's why I choose Deep Desert Brawl. Now let's get started. And here we are. Let's just take a few moments to admire him. Okay, time's up. Now the first thing we want to do is get rid of everything that makes him distinguishable as Brawl. Well, almost everything. So it's good that you have 2 good pairs of pliers. So you have everything. Alright, first thing that needs to go is the pack. So let's go ahead and remove that. So let's find the screw that connects it. Aha! Here's our culprit. So let's just go and remove that, shall we? I'm now going to get my smaller screwdriver. Now, in this little mission we have here, try to be very careful not to damage the automorph in any way. This is a little tough. Okay, here's where the, pliers come in handy. Aha! Some leverage here. That should loosen it a bit. Now, let's see about removing it. Still pretty stiff. Well, this is where the pliers come in handy again. Now, pretty much what I'm going to have to do is rip the top tank part off. Okay, hold on. Okay, so this will not stay in place. Hold on, I'll be right back. And we have it. Now, this upper tank piece itself, I think may come in handy because the sounds and, not the automorph, I'm sorry. The lights and sounds may come in handy for the figure. But if you plan to make one of your own, you may use your own creative outlet. No one's going to stop you. Apparently, it still possesses full functionality when have been separated. And apparently, this little doodad up here is what controls the little thing that makes all 3 sounds. Not even sure how I do that. I think it's pressing that little wire. Well, back to the, main thing. Next, these pads on the bottom of his feet. Or the back. Oh dear. Looks like our friend has been on quite the killing spree. Well, let's remove these as well. And what do you know? Gone. Now he's starting to look a bit more skeletal. Now the things on the side of his arms. Now it seems to extend from the... Aha! But still connected. Let's change that. Ooh. Magic. And what's nifty about this little gizmo here is that there's a Gatling gun that comes out. And if you've looked at Blackout's appearance very carefully, you will notice that he has a small Gatling gun in between the plates in his forearms. But we'll talk about removing it later. Now the other side. Still a few things left to go, like the mine detector, that little lever thing, those little tractor tread things for the tank, the head, and of course the arms. Now, I had these two arms pre-made from an Optimus Prime Nightwatch Optimus, to look like blackouts. Now that that's in order, if you've noticed, there's a huge difference between this exoskeleton and blackout. And that's where Gyroblade Blackout comes to help out. Now the thing about this figure is that because he's a children's figure, the head is oversized along with many other parts, which is perfect. So what we need from him is his missile carrier things and his head. And we'll probably have some use for this thing. Useful parts? The rest, garbaggio. Now, before we start putting stuff together, it's time to come up with our plan. If you have your own creative outlet, that's perfect. But here's mine. I wish to somehow incorporate this thing into my plan, but I just need to make it smaller. So we're going to dissect it. Sadly, I have to decree that even when compacted, its form is too bulky for this design. But now, let's extract that Gatling gun. There it is. Now, let's put it together. Now, before we start, let's talk about the arms, which have been handcrafted, or hand put together. The shoulder pads came from Voyager Blackout, actually, and so did these things on the side. And the arms came from Nightwatch Optimus. The reason I didn't use Brawl's arms is because when they're taken out of the socket, there's something like this. You couldn't really put it back in and expect much posability. But you see, with the Optimus arm, the arms are suspended on this little pad here, the arm joint. So when you turn it into vehicle form, its arms can move backwards. But here, that way, if I attach it, its arms will have still a full range of mobility. So, that is why I chose that particular form. Now, with this design, there is a weight constraint, because epoxy is a heavy substance when it dries. Something like cement. So you want to make sure that when applying the epoxy that you don't weigh down the figure's joints, allowing them to become weaker over time. Now here's another thing about epoxy. You have to mold this stuff quick because it dries really fast. And you have a window of probably 3 to 5 minutes to mold this stuff before it dries. So be quick. This stuff also has a very strong odor, and I would suggest that no one under, well, you know what, I'm pretty much just going to say under 18 because I don't want to be sued, but pretty much if you're going to do this, just make sure you have, parental supervision, because this is, plumber stuff. You should always have, a well-ventilated area to do this in. Don't get this on your clothes. Don't try to do anything crazy with it. Just, it's a very strong scent, so, what you got to be prepared. Here are the exact words of the text. Warning. Harmful if swallowed. Eye irritant. Contains epoxy. Well, what a shock. Of course, note that I am speaking sarcastically. Oh, and anime resins. I'm not sure what that is. Keep away from children. If swallowed, call physician for eyes. Flush with water and call physician. Wash hands with soap and water after using. So pretty much, Propoxy, the way of the future. I just made about $20 million. Just kidding. Alright, basically they're just being very careful because they don't want to be sued. But, I've molded this stuff with my hands before. I shouldn't have, but I do. And it's kind of like Clorox. Not the best thing in the world to get on your skin. It will leave your skin feeling very clammy. If you wash your hands, it should come off a little bit. It'll come off gradually over the course of a day. But, just refrain from getting it on your hands. Because if you have sensitive skin, the results could be dire. Really. So yeah, so let's start putting this bad boy together.